If we take a look at this example of direct proportion, A is directly proportional to the square of B. We've got to understand what that means. A lot of students get confused about this bit. The square of B purely means B squared. If you had the cube of B, that would be B cubed. That's just something to bear in mind when you see these questions in an exam paper. Okay, so A is proportional to the square of B. So we've got to write that down. The proportion is a fish sign. A is proportional to B squared. The next step, we've got to get rid of this proportional sign and change it to an equal sign. So we put A equals. When we do that, we have to bring in a constant. That's just a number that doesn't change, and the letter we use is K. So the next step is A equals KB squared. The next part is we're now going to use the information that we have. When A is 100, B is 5. So we're just going to substitute that in. So A is 100 equals K times B squared, 5 squared. So 100 equals 25K. I've now got to find what K is, so I have to get rid of the times by 25. The opposite, or the inverse of times by 25, is divide by 25. So I have to do that on both sides. So K equals 100 divided by 25, which is 4. This is the first mark in your question. Usually in an exam paper, this is a 3-mark question. That would be the first mark. The second mark, to put this K value into the general formula. So if we substitute that in, we get A equals 4B squared. This would be the second mark in your exam question. For the final mark, we look at this last bit. Find A when B is 8. So we want to find A. We know that our K is 4, and we know that our B is 8 squared. Okay, so A equals 4 times 64, or 4 times 64 is 256. So that is your final answer. Take a look at this example. Press pause and we'll run through it in just a few seconds. Okay, if we take a look at this question, this time we've got S is proportional to the square root of G. If it just says proportional, we assume that it is directly proportional, similar to the example that we had. Okay? So I've got my S is proportional to the square root of G. Well, that just means the square root of G. I've now got to get rid of my proportional sign. So S, I replace the proportional sign with an equal sign. I bring in my constant K and my square root G. I now substitute in the information that I have. When S equals 60, so 60 equals K, which I don't know, times the square root of 25. Now I know the square root of 25 is 5, so I've got 60 equals 5K. I've got to get K on its own, so I divide both sides by 5. So K equals 60 over 5, which equals 12. That's the first part of my question. I now have to substitute this K value into my general formula. So if I do that, I've got S equals 12 root G. Now I can answer the final part of my question. Find S when G equals 49. Well, let's take a look at that. S I've got to find. I know that my K is 12, and that's multiplied by the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7, so S equals 12 times 7. So S equals 84. That is the solution for this question.